And there we are. We are live. What's going on, guys? What's going on, D&B Deal Makers? Another lovely weekend here. We got a Saturday edition of D&B Deal Makers with an awesome guest. He's a rock star in, I don't know if I should say this area or I guess in multiple markets, but we'll kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And, so Brian, first off, thank you so much for being on the show. We could talk a little bit about how you kind of got in touch with kind of the community here. But Brian is actually from Charleston, South Carolina. He's been doing his business down there in wholesaling, fix and flip, and as well as multifamily acquisitions, buy and hold. And somehow you ended up here in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And what's really awesome, this is the biggest reason why we're bringing Brian on the show, is because he only started his business just 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I did my first mailing. I probably did my first mailing in like a really small mailing in the winter of 2017. But then I did my first wholesale March 18 and first flip.
Right.
First flip from start to end was like July 18. So yeah, two years.
So yeah, I mean, that was just 2 years ago. 2 years fly by pretty quick. So it's a really short amount of time, and you were able to get your business off the ground to a point where you kind of call it a business.
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope, Brian. So like I said, really, thank you for being on the show. We love having rock stars on here and people doing great things, and just kind of doing a deep dive and really picking their brain and really getting understanding the people that are on our show, and what drives them, what makes them tick, and where they're going from here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And like I said, anyone can reach out to me, ask me a question anytime via Facebook. I'm happy to help, happy to pay it forward in any way I can.
For sure. And that's actually the great thing about a community like this is, I know we bring on some larger names on here and all that. And, sometimes they're kind of viewed as a guru, but the honest thing is you can just reach out to any one of these people. I mean, they're just a normal person.
Yeah.
They might've been in the business for a little bit longer. They might've scaled to a certain point in their business. They may have a larger audience or a social media following, but at the end of the day, they're all just normal people, and we're pretty humble, to be honest.
I mean, I think you have to be in this. You have to be humble in this business, and in addition to that, like you'll be friends with these gurus, and you'll just see so many mutual friends. Like this circle is really small when like at a certain scale, and I don't think anyone at whatever part of their journey they're like far from reaching that point. So. Yeah, I mean, exactly. You can reach out to anyone at any time, and you should get a response, or at least like, hey, I can help you, or maybe this person in their team can help you. But seriously, reach out to me anytime.
Yeah, honestly, that's how we get most of these speakers, actually, especially the larger names ones. It's not through any kind of mutual connection. We just straight up cold message them. And let's do it.
Yeah. When you get to that level, I mean, I think you should have this realization at any level, but like, you never know who's listening to these, even if it gets 5-10 views. You never know when it's on someone's timeline, they could just get a 10-second snippet and be like, wow, that really impacted me. And, when you get to that certain level, I know Tim Brass pretty well. And like, he's just is like, that's what I do. Basically, that's how I spend a lot of my times. You never know when these value added activities will come back tenfold. So just get your name out there as much as possible. And that's why messaging these people, they realize that. They realize, maybe just start a podcast, start interviewing people. The community is so small.
Right. I will tell you this, though. The only person that I wasn't able to reach out to was Dean Graziosi. I messaged Dean Graziosi, and it was probably like his assistant or someone that runs his social media page.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a really, really big name, so
yeah.
Kind of expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not that bad, though.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome, Brian. Well, why don't we kind of jump into kind of how you got into real estate, or what market you're in exactly? Because I know you're physically here in Northern Virginia, but you're doing a lot of your deals in South Carolina at the moment.
Yep. Well, yeah. So I'm physically in Arlington, Virginia. I don't even know. It's like Penrose, Courthouse, Fort Myer area. And how I got started. Do you want to start there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's all about you, Brian. It's all about you today.
It's never about me. It's never about it. It's never about you. But I basically started like out of college. I worked for Boeing, a couple Fortune 500 companies. I just hated it. I mean, it's just a classic, like you go to college, you get a $50,000 job, live in a city, and go out on the weekends with your friends. And that's what like typically everyone does from like 22 to 25. Then you settle down, move to the suburbs. So I didn't like that path. So then I started an Amazon business, and it was like mainly drop shipping and retail arbitrage. Yeah, I didn't do like any real damage. I mean, my best year I probably did, I don't know, close to $1 million, but the margins are so thin. They take out so many chunks. It's probably like, it was like maybe a 15% profit margin.
15% of, so you said that your gross sales was close to $1 million?
Yeah. I like the big, like all the sale, like I would say like 60% of the sales happen in Q4. It just goes bonkers during the holidays. Like it's just crazy. Gotcha. But it was a very cyclical business. It was like very hard to predict. So, and it was like you'd spend a ton of money on inventory, kind of like marketing in this. Like you spend a ton of money in inventory and you kind of wait to get it back. But it was less predictable, I guess. So then it was like, yeah, winter, fall 17. And then I started listening to like Bigger Pockets podcast, and I was just like, real estate, this might happen. Like, we'll see what I can do. And I reached out to like some investors on Bigger Pockets, and one of them was nice enough to meet me for coffee. And he was just like, dude, just send out a piece of mail. It's not that hard. Just send out a piece of mail. Put it in somewhere you can keep track of, and just follow up. And I did that, but it didn't land me any deals. But then I just kept mailing. I didn't land a single deal. I still to date, I've never landed a single deal from direct mail. So then he was like, so this is like February. This is probably February of 18. He's like, check out Easy Texting. And like Easy Texting, this is before I knew of like all the other platforms. Easy Texting, like I wasn't in a Mastermind, like it's just on Bigger Pockets. No one really talks about like SMS on these bigger platforms, like Bigger Pockets, or like they don't like say like, go to this, go here, this is a script to use, do this. So it's all trial and error. So I started with this group called Easy Texting, and it was like a syndicate of Callfire. And they send out short codes. Like now, if you got a short code, you'd be like, what is this? This is like 2 years ago. Yeah. So like, it was like a short code, like a typical number is 10 digits, area code, then followed by seven digits. Right. And this is 6 digits. So it looks like such a spammy message. And I would just put in, and Charleston's a small market. I was just like, if you're interested in selling your home in the Charleston area, text back yes, if not no. And I would blast like the same 15,000 person list like every day for like 2 weeks, like send 15,000 texts a day. And like their platform was so bad, I couldn't see what was landlines, what was not, what was bouncing, what was not. But anyway, someone replied yes. And it was like this vacant property. It was probably been vacant for like 1.5 years, boards on the windows, boards everywhere. And I got it for 25 and like wholesaled it for 32. And by that time I'd gotten deals. I'd gotten like a couple deals from direct mail, but they never made it to closing. It was like probate issues, or just it wasn't worth it, or this person passed away, or this one, like it was just all these issues. So when you finally get that, I wasn't even in the closing, but I don't even know why I went to the closing. I just didn't think it would happen probably. I was just sitting in the lobby of my attorney's office, and he hands me an $8,000 check. I'm just like, this isn't real. And then I invested that back into marketing, did it again. This guy was like, hey, I just want to sell my house. I was like, okay, what do you owe on it? And he's like 102. And there's a comp to the right and left of him that sold for 185. It's like, and cutting out. It was like a cookie cutter house on a slab, built in 2002, needed a new roof and some paint and flooring. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to wholesale this. Like I was going to RIAs and like telling everyone I was a wholesaler. But then I got this deal with so much equity. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? So I called my friend, my broker, Troy Gandy, and he was like, dude, I just sold a house to this lady's, a house, and she's a private lender, so give her a call. And it was like they'd finance, I think, 90%, and I would have to finance the rehab or something like that, but at a fixed rate of 10%. So I don't know. I ended up making maybe 25, 30K in the house, but I was like, okay, I can do this. And then from there, just went through bad contractor after bad contractor after bad contractor.
Oh,
but I was like, but I had a system down then. Like I knew I could get deals from texting, and that was primarily what got me the most deals. I think I maybe did that first year, maybe did like 5 deals between wholesale and flips. And
this is purely based on the Shortcode text platform that you're using?
Yeah, sure.
The small dilemma I won't say it's a dilemma, but something I'm thinking about is I have this RVM platform that also has a Shortcode texting feature. And the reason I like this company is they're super, super cheap. But the downside is it's a Shortcode, you know?
Dude, yeah, I'd stay away from it. Like, well, if it's that cheap, then like, what do you
might as well blast it out. Like, there's no harm.
If it's that cheap, what is there to lose?
But the way I see Shortcode being effective is, say you're already in someone's mailing list and you're putting out a message, hey, we have this sale on this and this, or hey, by the way, we're having a Christmas sale or whatever, right? Yeah. But as a cold message, it seems like you said, it seems a little bit scammy. But then again, if you're doing volume, like, does it matter?
Yeah. If it's that cheap, I think I don't know. SMS is so cheap anyway from all the other platforms. I'd be curious to know how much it was a cents, because like you can do serious volume at like 2.8 cents a text. With the 10-digit code. So I don't know what the 6-digit codes are costing, but it was like, for me, it was like neck and neck. I was like, okay, this is an easy decision to make. And they didn't even have like places where they took like the little formulas where you could put in first name, last name, property address, all that stuff. So it was super spammy. But yeah, all those deals came from that. And like I'd say the first, I don't know, 6 months of the deals from 2019 probably came from that as well. But I've never had much success with ringless voice. That's pretty expensive though, isn't it?
I mean, the one I'm using is it's unlimited. It's just capped by the number of drops per hour. So
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you got to go by volume, you know. It's like you can't just drop 2,000 a month. You got to be dropping 50 to 100,000 a month, you know.
Do you dispo like that? You do lead gen like that and dispo, or just
just for lead gen? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as far as dispo goes in our area, I mean, we're part of a large community here, DMV Deal Makers. It's not hard to move a deal, really.
Yeah.
And I've got a built-up buyers list that's, I'd say it's a decent size. So I don't think I have any issues moving a deal. It might be a little bit different in South Carolina, maybe. Dispo might be a larger component.
I just get ringless voice from mails from like a couple wholesalers, and I'm like, do you do this on lead gen too? Because like I don't know, but yeah,
probably. I mean, if they had a platform, I'd use it for both.
But I just get them in when they're trying to dispo deals. So I don't know.
Well, let me go back for a second. You mentioned your first deal was a wholesale deal. You made an $8,000 spread, and that's actually pretty good considering. Well, actually, I don't know what kind of market it is down in Charleston. I'm assuming the average house price is 200,000 ish.
So that like 1 in 2000, the one that was built in 2000 on a slab was a 3.2, like maybe 1,300 square feet. That one was 180 ARV. So
gotcha. Okay, so I mean, $8,000 spread is pretty good.
This one, yeah. I mean, I got it for 25 and sold it for whatever, 30, 33, 32.
That's pretty good. What'd that feel like getting your first wholesale check? Because you said it was kind of unreal, right? What did that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I can do, like, it's just like, it just gives you so much self-confidence. It's just like, okay, this is actually like, this is, I don't know, you can get like really high level in it and be like, wow, I just made this out of thin air. And it was like, I didn't do anything. So you just flipped the contract. Like, I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, it's something I'll never forget. I'll never forget that first flip either. Now it's like I'm getting 2 deals next week, and because of the lender I'm using, they are requiring a mobile notary. I just want nothing to do with it. Like, she's already came once. And like she's coming buying 2 next week, and it's just like I don't want anything to do with it. But had that been my first or second deal, I've been like, yeah, like jazzed up about like that sort of thing. But
yeah. So when you were running your marketing prior to getting that first deal, what was the attitude behind it? Like, was it, oh, maybe this might work, this might not, let me just give it a try, or were you just really gung-ho, pretty confident about it?
Yeah, I was like, if he can do it, I can, basically. If these people that are like 30 years my senior, like 20 years my senior, like not tech savvy, and they're like, just kind of like not condescending, but there's just like an arrogance about them at certain RIAs. You're like, dude, this isn't anything special. So you have this like huge, like, I don't know, you could call it like spite or chip on your shoulder. Like I can learn, I can do this. Like and then that's what motivates you to like do cold calling through the night, or like keep sending mailers or whatever. Just seeing other people, just paying attention to what other people are doing, and like, not like judging yourself to them, but just being like, if they can do it, I can. Like, no one has a like bigger brain, or like this business is just raw hustle. And I mean, I just knew I could do that. So, I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times, especially if you listen to a lot of, these influencers and gurus out there, they're always trying to, for one, you understand they're pumping out content, but they always make it like, oh, this is the next secret, right? You gotta learn this thing, you gotta learn that thing. And I mean, there's some truth behind, some techniques they're doing, but ultimately all marketing is communicating a message from one mind to another. And the more people you're communicating that message to, the more likely you're going to hit someone that message is exactly what they need.
You're exactly right. Like, and what are the means of communication now? Phone call, text, email. Like everyone's you're just spending more money going to networking, like you're going to bigger events, more events, spending more money calling, spending more money emailing, texting. Everyone's doing the same stuff. No one's doing anything. There's no secret. It's just, exactly what you said. It's just numbers and how many people you can talk to, and how many of those people are, I mean, you can get more targeted, get better lists, but you're still communicating through the same mediums. Everyone's texting, everyone's calling, or mail, but I don't do mail, but,
how long did you run that mail campaign, by the way? You said you never got a deal from direct mail.
It was like, so list source, you can't even pull in South Carolina anymore.
Oh, really?
It was like a list source, like high equity out of state list. So it was like maybe 3,500 names, 4,500 names. Like Charleston proper is maybe 600,000. So it's 1/10 the size of the DMV area. And you
basically just pull a list of every house in that area, or just anyone with equity, essentially.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, because like the market really appreciated, not like it has here, but there's like 70, 80K spreads that happen if someone bought in like 2013, which is enough for them to be like motivated enough to sell their house, and still enough margin down there. So because when you add an interest and all that stuff on up here, a $600,000 house, that's a lot. But down there on a $110,000 house, I mean, that's 20% of the interest payment. So you get these people with all this equity, and so it's like, why not pull 68,000 or whatever? But that's the whole market. So I don't know. We get creative about pulling lists and FOIAs and that sort of thing, but everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's communicating the same way.
Sure. Okay. So you did your first wholesale deal. You did your fix and flip. What took us to what's taking us into today, essentially? Like, I know you've done quite a few fix and flips. So those basically the same types of deals? Or are you kind of looking around different types of single family houses? And I know you're doing buy and holds as well. Is that something that was just kind of, you just started doing mixed in, or was there a certain point where you're like, all right, well, let me, do a few buy and holds. Let me stick to a certain strategy, or what was the method behind that?
I don't know why it keeps cutting out. Yeah, no. So I would say the latter part of last year, I would just buy anything, like auctions, like anything. Didn't have any like buying criteria, and that like resulted in a lot of flips. but looking back on it, I shouldn't have done that. So what I pull lists on now is anything smaller than anything with one bedroom. So I don't want land deals, one deal or a plus. Anything under 1,800 square feet. I've done like a 2,700 square foot one and a 2,300 square foot one that I wish I didn't. I mean, it was like one was a 6-figure profit, which is good, but it just took too long. There's so many moving pieces. So my buying criteria is more than one bath, under 1,800 square foot, and last sold date is like 2015. So they have equity, and that's it. but that's in a much smaller market. So that's what's taking me here now. And then anything bigger, like serious rehab. Like I like to stay in, like, especially with the market the way it is now, like kind of shaky. Is it on the high end? How long is this going to last? I don't do anything more than a 30K rehab. I probably haven't for the last maybe 4 or 5 months. So just.
Gotcha. So when you say a 30K rehab,
Yeah.
Down in Charleston, South Carolina, what does that look like exactly? Because I mean, there's no 30K rehabs here unless you're talking about a small studio condo and you're just doing, you're painting the interior and maybe changing the kitchen and bathroom.
Yeah, labor is different down there. So like I could probably do per ton HVAC system anywhere from like $5,000 to $7,500, and then paint exterior.
For installing an entire system?
Yeah.
Really? Installing an entire central heating system?
Yeah, well, it depends on the square footage. If it's just like a 2-ton unit, if it's just a 2-ton unit, which is basically what is all you need for the houses I do.
You said about 1,500 square feet house?
Yeah, or less. Okay. And then, roof. Yeah, I mean, roof, floor, painting, interior, exterior, updating, kitchen, bath. That's basically it. It's not a full gut, but that's
cosmetic and system upgrade.
Yeah, basically.
That's what 30,000 gets you?
30,000, 35, yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm handing my contractor 4 flips a month, so it's a win-win, but that's the labor side. Like, so we've gotten to a point now where like I kind of know I know how much he's going to charge me, and I know what the houses look like. So we basically just, if he goes in or over budget, Josh probably kill me for saying this because he's like meticulous when it comes to numbers, but we just kind of work it out in the next house. Like he doesn't, if he's going over budget, we just kind of work it out at a later date and we stick to those numbers. But yeah, I mean, it's basically him and the GC and 4 other crews. So, I'm basically employing the his whole business. But I mean, that can all change. In my HVAC too, there's countless investors that I referred him to that he gives me special pricing on, or he'll like say, hey, I have this unit from like 2015. It works fine. I'll put it in this house. And we disclose that to the buyer as well. But roofing can get done pretty cheap. We have contract pricing for flooring at Lowe's. Countertop, I put granite countertops and everything. That's always usually $1,500. Appliances have that priced out at Lowe's too, with the volume $1,500 for a whole set. So yeah, I mean,
wow.
I'd say the entire flip's like, I don't know, probably 35, 40, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't get myself into crazy flips. Like I'm not like doing new builds or tear downs. I did one addition. I'm in the process of doing it now, and I wish I didn't, but it'll be a nice profit. But it just permits, engineer drawings, all this stuff. It's just not worth it.
Sure. I mean, as long as you can find those deals in that area, definitely go for it. I think in our area here, Northern Virginia, it's just kind of hard to find these deals where it's just a kitchen bathroom update. At least having significant margin.
Yeah, well, the sellers are more savvy here, right?
Sure.
So like they realize, I mean, they just realize their property's appreciated so crazy. Like, not to say that sellers down there are like dumb or anything, but they just the appreciation hasn't skyrocketed the way it is, and then they're distressed houses, but they're not like they're motivated, but they're like here a motivated seller doesn't like they can just keep refining, or I don't even know what, like Josh was trying to explain it to me, like the motivation is completely different.
Right. Wow. I mean, what are your plans moving forward? Are you planning to do some stuff in this area locally, or?
So right now, like I have my COO Nate Hirschberg. He basically handles all the residential stuff. My contractor just like calls me if he needs something, and so that's what I'm doing on like the residential side. And then that doesn't take much time out of my day, so I'm pretty much 100% focused on finding commercial deals. There's not many commercial deals out there, so like marketing's kind of different. So I think I'm marketing to like a list of 6,000, and that's anything above 20 units in Florida, Louisiana, both Carolinas. I think I put Virginia in there just because West Virginia, and I'm missing a couple states. But I have under contract right now like a 58 unit mobile home park in Louisiana.
Wow.
And then I have 2 under contract on the B2C side. Well, one just fell out of contract on the B2C side in South Carolina. They're both like 15 unit parks. But the one in Louisiana, there's like, we'll see if that one comes through. I have like 60 days of due diligence, and I think I just ratified maybe 10 days ago. But it has a septic lagoon, which is, I guess, really popular there. And it's been there for 50 years, and they're in a floodplain. And, I basically, the EPA is not really cool with that. So like I was talking to a bunch of civil engineers, and they were giving me costs, and the cost was all over the place. And I was talking to the seller. So we'll see how that deal goes. But I want to focus on buy and hold commercial for a lot of reasons: depreciation from the active side of the business of flipping, passive income, and the strategy, kind of Tim's model of refinancing out equity and keeping the asset, basically burring on a commercial asset. But that's like an 18-month process each deal. So
Wow.
We'll see. I'm just getting into it. I've been marketing that list for maybe 3 weeks. So cold calling and texting.
How did you get into it exactly? Is there a certain mentor you're following, or?
I'm in a mastermind.
Gotcha.
Called Legacy Family, and
Okay.
that's Tim Brass's mastermind.
Gotcha.
And we meet once a quarter, and you just go around the room, and there's people like not only in real estate. There's like sales, marketing guys, and like just everyone in there has a 7-figure business in revenue. So, and they all, it's really intimidating to go in that room. So, and every 3 months, it's like, we only did our first meeting last month, about a month ago. And, 32 months from now is our next one. And you have to be prepared. Like you have to show results in what you did in the last 90 days. And it's not hard to in that room too. That's why I recommend Mastermind so much. It's like you get instant network of all these people, and they all just want to help you succeed.
Sure.
It's like, you're picked to be in there for a reason, and that's to help one another. So, it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. You mentioned it was a little bit scary to be in a room like that. Why is that?
You just don't feel worthy. You just
Gotcha.
there's people, like everyone's around like late 20s, early 30s, I'd say mid 30s. And you're just like, this is, just to see what they've been in how long they've been in business for and what they've done is just like, I'm in that room for a reason. I know that I have a place in there, but it's just like, it's just intimidating to some extent. that was the first meeting. The second meeting, I've gotten to know a lot of people more, and like everyone reach out to anyone and always send anyone a DM, and obviously being in a room with them for 3 days, I mean, you get a lot closer to them. But the first meeting was like a little intimidating, which is good. Like I was telling another guy in there, I was like, I definitely feel like the dumbest person in that room. And he's like, do you know, like these people that host these meetings, do you know how hard they work to be the dumbest person in the room? Like that's what you're trying to do in this, and how you can grow.
I was just going to say, there's a saying that, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be the dumbest guy in the room, right? Because that's how you're surrounded by people that are doing kind of bigger and better things than you. And the way that you get there is by being in an environment like that.
Yeah.
And part of it is just kind of, I guess, just kind of using our, humans just kind of have this natural way of, comparing ourselves, because we have this, tribal mindset, right? We're all trying to put each other in different categories, different levels, and different statuses. And when you're kind of in a lower status in that community or in that tribe, it's like, well, you have like a chip on your shoulder, and you don't, it's not a good feeling, and you want to do something to, elevate yourself. Right. Yeah. So you just naturally start climbing, and start, I don't want to say competing, but in a way you kind of are, you're kind of competing with yourself to get to a more worthy level, essentially. Right.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone in that group's like super humble, but yeah, I mean, you see, because I did one other mastermind. I won't say the name of it, but it was just like, it was so raw, and like, so like everyone is so much fluff, but like, these people were just crazy, and they had they have the social media following to back it up, and they've been doing this stuff for years. It's like they're going crazy. Like the first time I was there, these guys, one of them does like 700 flips a year out of Tampa. And he's flipping a coin for 10 grand with another guy. They're both like rocking APs, just like going crazy. I'm like, what did I just walk into? But they're the most down to earth guys. It's crazy.
That's wild. So this is something you just kind of started, then, right? It sounds like
the commercial.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
We're cold calling pretty hard and texting pretty hard, but
gotcha.
These deals are bigger.
Absolutely, yeah. So, a majority of the viewers here in our community are, primarily focused on residential stuff. Yeah. Why don't you just kind of walk us just very briefly into, I guess, kind of the marketing channels when it comes to finding a commercial deal, or if there's similarities or differences that you've noticed?
It's all the same. I mean, I got Nick, Tim's acquisition guy's Nick. I was like, dude, when you send an offer, what do you send in? And he's like, an LOI. It's basically like a purchasing agreement with you and the seller that you would in like any wholesale or residential contract. And it was just like, I'll get his permission, but I'm sure if anyone messages me, I can share that. But it's just a letter of intent that says purchase price, terms, closing date, some other verbiage, but there's no difference, right? And that's kind of a learning curve in itself. Is like, yeah, these deals are smaller. You're going to have to raise more money, but there's no difference between commercial and residential other than, a few extra zeros. And I don't want to I want to take down a 200 unit and like all this stuff, but I kind of want to start with like a smaller, get the feet wet first, and like a 20 to 50 unit, kind of already has systems in place and it's not a huge value add. But if it was something in this area or like within an hour and a half, like I wouldn't mind closing on it and overseeing the project management of it. But yeah, if you're starting out, everyone's doing the same stuff. It's just like, how much capital are you comfortable deploying in marketing? And, it's on you then to stay on top of those leads and make sure they're getting followed up, make sure they're getting making sure, like, if you have action items to give that caller or that lead, like, your website or your Facebook link or an email describing you, it's like on you to provide all that information. So it's no different really. But that being said, I haven't closed on a deal yet. I just have like 70 units under contract. So I don't know. I'm no expert either, but it's just one foot of the, it's just eat an elephant at one spoonful at a time and ask questions to people that are doing it. I mean, I have no residential space. Any way I can help in commercial, I have no problem answering those questions. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's capable of doing it, I think.
Sure. So when it comes to pulling a list for these multi-units, is there certain criteria you try to go for? Say, length of ownership, or just kind of what's the target audience?
I'm casting a wide net there too. So like various states. I just want to stay in the Southeast, like mid-Atlantic right now. Anything over 20 units, I think that's about it, to be honest. There might be one other filter in there. But not many places, like you can't go, like you can't pull lists in certain prop streams, or maybe you can, I don't know. But everyone that I've talked to uses Reonomy.
What is that?
Reonomy, it's just a data provider, but in the commercial space. And you can only export 1,000 leads a month, which is bullshit. That'll just it takes 6 months to pull a 6,000 person list. And like they did it so you have to use a VPN to get the data to access it. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a VA to pull all the data. But then it's like, oh, you need a VPN. So there's VAs with VPNs. And they're just going through and pulling all the data. The guy can do maybe like, I don't know, 200 pulls a day, but he's working right now. He worked yesterday. He's working tomorrow. So that list will be pretty heavily scraped. But, it's crazy. Like, I don't know if it's a mindset shift or what, but like coming from a residential space, you can just blast list. But like, if you only have 6,000 leads to go from, I mean, cold callers are going to be done through that in a month. You're going to text through that in a week. So, it's just maybe I'll have to take mail or what, but I haven't blown through the list yet because the guy hasn't finished pulling all the leads. So I'm reaching out to brokers too, at Marcus and Millichap. Went on a couple appointments with one-on-one. Well, I met them in their Bethesda office and I went on a deal in Anacostia, but they're just delusional about price sometimes, even on heavy value add projects. So, but I'll continue working relationships with brokers. It's just a small phone call. When networking events open back up here, I plan to go in on a bunch of those. I'm sure there's big players in the commercial space that I haven't met yet that I'd love to, and just I'm going to ask them questions and pick their brain.
Sure, makes sense. You mentioned you need a VPN to access that. I guess for the people listening, a VPN is like a private or like a virtual.
I don't. You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah. So essentially, what it is so that you can't be traced back to your computer. It's kind of like sort of a dummy IP address, right? Or something like that.
Well, they don't want their system to be, from what I understand, they don't want their system to be contacted from an overseas IP address. So that's why they had to get a VPN to enter the Reonomy site. I don't know what a VA, I don't even know what VPN stands for. That's just what the VA was telling me. And I was like, okay.
Okay. Oh, so your VA had to get a VPN. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the platform required you to get a VPN.
No.
So sketchy.
No. So the platform was like, you can only have 1,000 pulls a month. And I was like, well, I have 6,000 leads that I need to text yesterday. What can I do to, like, how can I pull all these leads immediately? And then I was like, okay, I'll just get a VA to pull it. And then the VA like types in Reonomy, types in my login information. And it's like, you can't access the site. So,
basically he needs a VPN to pretend he's not in the Philippines or wherever.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So he's pulling about 200 leads a day, and then I just fire them off to my cold callers and then text them as well. So,
gotcha.
Also with Reonomy, it's not even that much of a subscription fee. under $500. But basically, someone told me, I don't know if this is accurate, they go into county records and get the deeds to these properties. So in the county records, because all these commercial assets are in LLCs, which like the only one skip tracing that I think is Lead Sherpa, but and then they also skip trace the lead. So you have their email and the phone number of the principal of that LLC. So they do the skip tracing for you. So
oh wow.
Yeah, it's a subscription based. It gives you access to data, only lets you pull 1,000, but then you can get a VA and pull the data, and then he just inputs all that data into a spreadsheet, and then I give that to cold callers and text, and it can import it into the format he puts it in. I can import it into text messaging as well.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. Hopefully, hope to hear back and hear that you got your first deal here.
Yeah, I mean,
space here shortly.
It's actually easier talking to, and again, I've never done anything residential here, but like all I have is I've virtual wholesaled in a couple markets and never had much success just because I didn't have the systems in place. But it's so much easier talking to sellers in the commercial space. They're just like they're investors, right? So they just understand more. So
it's easier to work with.
Yeah, and like they're like, hey, maybe they just understand what you're looking for. And they're like, oh, I can't help you out. They're just way more helpful to work with you than like, why are you calling my phone? And like all this stuff. It's like, but it's all sales and marketing.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, moving forward, are you still looking to scale the fix and flip and the wholesaling, or what's?
Yeah, we're looking. So like right now we're looking. Right now it's like, okay, we like the way we have our contractors, and we going forward we're not going on any appointments. All appointments have gone virtual.
Gotcha.
And that was Josh last week. We met up and he was like, yeah, I think that's what we're doing unless we built like a year of rapport with someone, like we're going all virtual. So now we're kind of researching, do we want to go into virtual wholesaling and like set up a market that's going to take, to make it immediate impact, it's going to take tens of thousands of dollars of marketing. So like, what market do we want to go into? The fix and flip business, I mean, what the goal is to net 1 million in the next 12 months, which we're on pace to do. And then just go commercial, like spend as much time as we can commercial. But the thing is like, we can only do so much with when the leads come in. It's like, that doesn't take a full day. So now it's like, do we virtually wholesale? Do we do this? So we're going forward, net 1 million on flipping, try to get to 100K passively on commercial. And then we're looking at virtual wholesaling in another market, which we're on the fence about. So, yeah, I don't know. There's enough hours in the day to do that for sure. Like if you have, you can blow through leads so quickly. So
sure.
That's going forward. We'll see what actually happens, but yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to the virtual wholesaling stuff, what markets are you considering?
Staying in the Southeast. Savannah would be an easy transition. So
Savannah, Georgia
would be an easy transition. That's an hour 45 southeast of Charleston, south, like along the coastline, southwest, I guess. And that's a potential market we could also flip in, but that's more boots on the ground. I don't know. Cause like virtual flipping makes sense in Charleston just because I have a good GC. But even that can present problems down the road, but that's going good now. My business partner, Nate, he is familiar with the Florida markets, but I don't know. Robert said, dude, Texas or Florida, because you have so much data, so much FOIA data. Robert Winsley, or did I pronounce his last name right? When I don't know.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I don't want to just start throwing marketing dollars because it's so easy to do. So we're just gonna have to look at data. We're just gonna have to look at what markets make sense. But I wouldn't go to like Des Moines, Iowa, or Topeka, Kansas, or something like that. Somewhere in the southeast.
Gotcha. Are you just kind of doing your own research in terms of what markets work out for you? You just kind of mimic other virtual wholesalers? I know a lot of people try to pull their own metrics and do their own research and analyze their own what they think might be a good market. But I feel like that's kind of just spinning your own wheels. Like, just look at where the other virtual wholesalers are marketing in, and they've done the research up front.
Yeah. Josh showed me a couple cool things with zip codes. The website's like Rue. So that tells you like how many deals were done in a certain zip code in the last 12 months. I mean, Savannah just makes sense from what I've heard for other people in the RIAs, just with margins. Charlotte's I know a couple people doing Charlotte, but yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to research it. Proximity makes sense to me. But I guess that defeats the purpose of virtual, but I don't know, just, I know like maybe a 3-2 is the same anywhere, but I just know what it would be in that market in the Carolinas, Southeast. So we'll see.
Makes sense.
That's something that we need to happen soon. Needs to happen soon. So
listening to just kind of your story from start to now, it sounds like a pretty smooth sailing story here. Has it actually been smooth sailing all the way through, or what are some of the big challenges?
The answer to that. No.
What do you think has been the biggest challenge?
COVID, all the lenders disappeared. I had to come out of pocket, I think in 3 deals, 30% of that drained funds really quickly, and didn't cover rehab. That was challenging. Just contractors just not getting things done in time. Starting out deal flow is always hard. It's not, none of this is easy. No one got to doing a bunch of flips or doing a bunch of wholesales easily. It's just been, for a long time, it was always profitable, but it's just never been at a point where you're oh, now I can afford to do this or that. That's, it's 1 or 2 years definitely of just nose to grindstone, just figuring it out, figuring out the market, figuring out contractors, figuring out sellers. It's all, none of it's easy. None of this is easy.
100%. What kind of advice would you give to kind of the newbie investor trying to get into the game here? Because it sounds like you were doing your Amazon business beforehand, and it sounded like you were doing pretty well with the Amazon stuff. Actually, most people don't even build momentum when it comes to the drop shipping business. But you kind of made that quick transition. What do you think is the biggest hang up that most people have when it comes to wholesaling?
What a hang up they have, I'm not really good at wholesaling, to be honest, so I can't really.
Well, I guess when I say wholesaling, just the act of finding a deal. Once you find a deal, you then have an option. Hey, maybe I should close on this if I raise some money, or I can reassign it. But ultimately, you start by finding that deal.
My advice is definitely educate yourself. Definitely, if you're really serious about this, and if you're really serious about this, and you want you're not going to get the same results if you're doing the same thing, absorbing the same content around the same people. Invest in yourself. So spend $50 and buy 3 books, all the books that everyone says: Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Richest Man in Babylon, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, or some, just Google real estate books, buy 3 of them. And then exactly what you said, direct message on Facebook, immediately start developing a social media presence, even if it's 1 post a month. Hey guys, I'm just starting out. Welcome to my journey. I'll show you my first deal. Even if you have nothing, just post that and a picture of yourself behind a distressed building or in front of a distressed building. There you go. You have a story. and then reach out to people, constantly reach out to people. I mean, Josh probably has never turned anyone down. Like Josh will talk to anyone.
Yeah, you're right. I think that applies for most people, actually. Like most people are pretty humble out there, you know?
Yeah. Dude, like, hey, my name is Jim. I've lived in this area most of my life. I'm looking to get into real estate. Okay, Jim, that sounds great. Hey, Josh, how can I help? What can I do? How can I get involved? Well, actually, I don't have anything for you now, but talk to me in a few weeks. Okay, go to the next guy. Talk to them. You know, I just interviewed these two guys out of Spokane. They do 15 to 20 They do 15 to 20 deals in a month, but they're in 5 different markets. But it's still really impressive. They have a bunch of other businesses. The guy was like, when I first started out, I went to the best flipper in town. I said, I'll mow lawns at your properties for $20 or for free. And the guy ended up paying him $20. But he just talked to him, was like, hey, every flipper needs their lawn mowed. Everyone does. Every flipper needs the haircut. Like he was like, yeah, I wanted to see what neighborhoods he was in, what the houses he was flipping looked like, what he was doing in those houses, what margins he was buying it, how he was. If you mow someone's lawn, they're going to tell you how they found the deal. Like they're going to give you full disclosure. So it's like, do anything you can to get with the people where you want to be at eventually, and just be willing to put in the work. Then when you've done that, don't be afraid to invest $3,000 to $5,000 in marketing. You know, direct mail works in your area. Do that. Text messaging is by far the cheapest way to market, in my opinion. You know, you can pull a list of 4,300 people in a highly targeted list, you know, for a couple $100, then spend the rest on an SMS platform for $4.95. You probably get 10,000 texts. Blast that list twice. Follow up. You know, you don't need a huge CRM. You don't need all these systems in place. You can do this with a pen and paper. So if you're just starting out, it'd be invest in yourself, reach out to people in your community, and then don't be afraid to invest in marketing.
Sure, 100%. I think out of those things, connecting with the right people is probably the biggest one, because if you connect with the right people, they'll kind of guide you into the direction that you need to be going in anyways, you know, whether it's investing a few $1,000s into marketing or buying this list or that list, they'll be guiding you into that direction anyways.
Yeah. And like whether people want to admit it or not, like success to some degree is lonely. Like I love doing these. Like I can't have this conversation with a lot of people. So if you reach out to someone that like, and they're passionate about real estate, most people will talk their head off, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
To some degree it is lonely, but there's a community like this for a reason, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I always like to say, you know, success is a team game, you know, success is a team game, business is a team game. You know, you can't do it on your own, because if you knew how to, you would have already done it. Right. So we're all trying to get to a certain, you know, quote unquote, a destination or a certain place. And, you know, you just can't do it on your own. You're trying to do a pretty big thing. And maybe 10 years from now, whatever it is your goal was, maybe you won't be that big then, but where you are now, you know, it's something that you need to be in a community or have peers kind of on that same path, you know? So, you know, that's why we really emphasize community building and just having the right people around you, which is part of the reason why we have, you know, deal makers. And from what I understand, you also have a podcast.
Yeah, it doesn't have a name yet, but I basically just take people from the mastermind and interview them. So, But it's a lot of high functioning people. And I mean, it's just great. Like, we haven't met in person yet because of circumstances, but like now we know each other, and, you know, I got to learn a little about you. You got to learn a little bit about me. And then like, imagine interviewing people like that are 10X what you're doing. It's just like having a conversation with them is just like, you got to pick their brain for an hour, you know, and people love to talk about themselves too. So
yeah, you're right.
You know, so it's just, I don't know. It's just one, it gives you content. You get to sit with a great person for an hour or hour and a half. You get to learn more about their story. So when you do meet in person, or when an opportunity there's some synergy pops up, you're like, hey man, what do you think about this? Like not even asking, like, what do you like? Most times they'll come to you or you'll come to them and they'll give you, like, say you need money or say you need more deals, or like, it's like, hey, I have this deal, but it just came from a relationship that wasn't just, it was like, here, I have this deal. It was before you had, before you built something, like, you communicated with each other. It wasn't solely about business, but then when business comes out of it, it's pretty cool. And it usually is something like more worthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, building that network is important, and, the right network and just how big it is, right? Because I think when it comes to getting to a certain level in success or business, your network won't just be, your buddy down the street. The numbers within the whole, I guess, population, there's just only so many, right? There's essentially a funnel. And you're going to have to reach out to people. Maybe there's only a few in your town, and maybe there's only a few in your state. So it kind of becomes a nationwide network that you're building.
Yeah, it sounds so cheesy, right? Because it's like, your network's your net worth. It sounds so cliche and cheesy, but like, if you're just starting out and you don't quite grasp what that means, it's like very real. Like, I can have a conversation. Like, I had a conversation with Josh, and I met Josh. We stayed in contact over Facebook. I've met him in person 2 or 3 times before that. And he's like, we're not going on any appointments anymore. I'm like, boom, change my business. Let's see how efficient this is. Like, let's do it. Like, there's small tweaks, and it could just happen from a conversation. You're like, whoa. It's like, if I didn't lay the groundwork of that, like, if we weren't friends, then I may have never learned that. Or like, you just lay groundwork for future opportunities. You don't maybe ever get an opportunity. You may never do business with them. You may never talk to them, but like, hey, John, like, I have this guy in DC. Would it be, he's just starting out wholesaling. Then 3 years from now, he provides you a 6-figure deal. Like, these things aren't unheard of,
Yeah, it's pretty common, actually. So,
yeah, very common.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, especially when it comes to kind of the wholesaling space, it's really a small world. You have a few large groups out there, but you see the same couple people in there, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we're doing here with, deal makers. We're branching out to different marketplaces here and building local communities. And Brian, from what I understand, you're going to be building out a community down there in South Carolina.
Yeah, virtually building it out. I mean, I know a lot of people in the market because I was in there for a couple of years, but starting Charleston, deal makers. Phenomenal. And the best group, at least the one I'm active in, well, the most active group in Charleston has 1,000 members.
So, really, that's it?
That's it. So,
I didn't realize it was such a small it's a city, right?
Tiny, man. Yeah, I mean, Charleston proper, it's on a peninsula, right? So it's on a peninsula, and then there's like other cities around it, but the peninsula proper is 130,000. Like, Charleston proper is like, that's the size of like half of, I don't know, Boston or something. Like, it's like, it's so small. But
wow.
But there's a lot of opportunity there. Like, if a community is set up and it's 3 times that, it's 3 times more deals, that's 3 times more connections, that's 3 times the biggest buyers list. Like, it won't be hard to do, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what we're really excited about is building a community there. And like you said, since it's not a very large city, say hypothetically you get connected with every investor in that city. Well, you're making everyone's businesses better because, some investor down there who happens to need a new HVAC guy. Well, you got an entire network there, and you know exactly which HVAC guys work and which ones you want to stay away from, just because you literally have the entire network there in that group. It just helps everyone's business out,
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, it's going to be groundbreaking for sure. Like, the level of connectivity is going to be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I mean, this is a phenomenal talk here. I guess I kind of want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And I always like to ask this question to people, and it's, What kind of advice did you give to your younger self? And actually, I'm not exactly sure how old you are. I'm assuming you're 30.
Yeah, I'm 30.
Okay. What
30,
kind of
30,
advice did you
31
give
in
to
October.
say? Oh, nice, awesome. What kind of
Um,
advice did you give to say your 20-year-old self?
I think college is important on a social aspect. You don't need to necessarily go to the best college if you want to be an entrepreneur. Um, but from a social aspect, at least maybe a 2-year degree, you just don't learn that in high school. You just need to be humbled. You just need to learn how to interact with people. So maybe you can do that with college. I don't think I could have. So if I was 20, I was still in college. I would say just don't be worried about breaking from the norm sooner and like going into a discipline, different discipline where like, if I'd hit real estate super hard for 5 years, it would have sucked. It would have sucked not being able to do things like, probably live in the apartment I wanted or go to the bars I wanted or hang out as much as I wanted, but it would have paid dividends for my future. But I don't regret that time because it was a great time, but just taking things more seriously in the investment space. So it would make my life easier down the road.
Do you think he would listen?
Probably not, to be honest.
Yeah. Funny thing about being 20-ish is you're kind of old enough to think you're an adult.
Yeah.
You think like you have this sense of independence because you just turned 18 and legally you're an adult. But I think biologically, like your brain is still developing at that point.
Oh,
You're basically still just a teenager essentially. And I think your brain doesn't really start. It's always developing, but I think they say like now it's not until you're in your later 20s you're truly like mentally an adult.
Dude, yeah, that's why I'm so impressed with like people and they're like 24, 25 and they're like crushing it wholesale. And it's like, whoa, like just having that maturity so early. It's like it's kind of envious of that, but everything happens on your own timeline. So you can go at any age, you can go as hard as you want, or any age you can go not as hard as you want. But yeah, I mean, you when someone else is your boss, they're controlling your destiny in some ways. So I think the sooner you can get out of that mindset, the better.
Yeah, I actually call that getting out of the thinking you're a kid mindset, right? Because I think a lot of people, even though they're an adult, mentally, like conceptually, they still see themselves as a person in this big world where there's people that are over them and have more authority than you and that make decisions, that make better decisions than you. And you still kind of see yourself as a kid seeking, is this the better advice or should I follow that guy? Right? You kind of still seek that parental advice in a way.
Yeah.
And that can happen at any age. I mean, I'm not saying this is like exclusive to just 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. I think this happens at all ages because you see a lot of older adults still kind of thinking that way. They just kind of got stuck there.
Well, I mean, they're out of capacity. Oh, I need 7 years to make 6 figures, or I need, you're just so limited by things that are so out of your control. You can be the best engineer in the world, and Boeing's going to only pay you X amount. Like, sure, if you're better at like soft skills and talking to people, you might get a manager and you might get, but still you're only going to make X, and you're going to get stock options, which who knows what that'll turn out to be. But I mean, like, you're just so capped, whereas like if you're an engineer, you're the best engineer in the world and you developed a thing that makes your, I don't know, light turn on easier, or blinds, it's just a mentality of not being capped. You just break away from it. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, right. We can definitely go down that rabbit hole. That's a couple-hour conversation there. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think this has been a pretty good conversation here. Just kind of scratching the surface of who you are, how you got started, where you're going, and a little bit about kind of what makes you tick, and how you see the world and such. So really appreciate you taking some time out of your weekend here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll definitely be online again here together at some point.
Yeah. Anytime you want to grab coffee or beer.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, like I said, definitely have a safe weekend. I know it's hot and humid outside, but I mean, there's options there to do stuff. So
we'll just open, so go probably take a dip.
yeah,
But
awesome.
yeah,
Cool,
man, I
man.
appreciate your time too. I know it's 1
Absolutely.
p.m. on a Saturday, so really appreciate it.
For sure. All right, man. Stay
All right,
safe.
John, take care.